Okay, let's unpack this. Welcome to the deep dive. We take fascinating, sometimes complex stories and make them really accessible. Today, we are plunging deep, really deep into the world of no-limits freediving. It's profound, it's perilous. Our mission here is to explore that quest for human endurance, Yeah. Where's the line between ambition and safety? We're focusing on the tragic story of Audrey Mestre, her pursuit of a world record. Well, it ended in disaster. We're drawing on detailed accounts of that final dive and looking at the bigger picture of competitive freediving to really get the stakes.
Exactly. And this isn't just about one specific event, is it? It's a really compelling look at the whole ecosystem of these extreme sports.
Yeah.
And the human body, what it's capable of is incredible, but also how every single detail, every tiny thing becomes absolutely crucial when you're pushing those boundaries. We'll really try to get into the why behind the what, not just the sequence of things.
Okay, so let's start there. What exactly is no limits freediving? Can you break that down for us?
Right. So imagine going down hundreds of feet into the ocean.
Yeah.
You're holding onto this weighted sled that pulls you down fast.
Yeah.
All on a single breath of air, remember?
Breath. Wow.
Yeah. And then to get back up, you don't swim. You inflate this special lift bag using an air tank you carry, and that shoots you back to the surface. Yeah. It's all about depth, pushing human limits, physiology, spirit, everything.
And the body, what's happening physiologically down there, the pressure alone must be just immense.
Oh, it's astounding. I mean, the pressure's crushing. Your lungs, they can compress down to the size of like a small orange.
Seriously?
Yeah. And your heart rate can plummet. We're talking maybe less than 20 beats per minute. It's this thing called the mammalian diving reflex. It's an adaptation, helps conserve oxygen, but it really shows the extreme demands, pushing the body right to the edge.
Definitely sounds like a daring challenge. And yeah, it sets the stage for these incredible stories of triumph, but also, like you said, heartbreaking tragedy. Let's talk about triumph first, though. There's this amazing story involving Tanya Streeter, August 17, 2002. She set out on this mission. It really felt like she was defying physics, defying human limits. She was going for a new world record. So she grabs this robust metal sled, pulls a pin, and just starts descending into those deep, dark waters. And get this, just 35 seconds in, she's already at 166 feet. That's like 3 times the air pressure we feel right here on land.
Right. And that's where the body's incredible adaptations really kick in. To handle that pressure, you get something called blood shift. It's not like your lungs fill with water or anything, but blood gets shunted, sort of redistributed from your arms and legs into your chest cavity. It helps support the lungs against that massive external pressure, stops them from collapsing completely, protects the vital organs.
So Tanya's dive wasn't just like luck then. What does her success tell us about the kind of conditioning needed, both physical and mental?
Absolutely not luck. It really highlights what some call adaptive programming.
Yeah.
Divers like Tanya, they don't just train their muscles. They train their autonomic nervous system. They learn to consciously control responses like that diving reflex, which is totally involuntary for most of us.
Okay.
So they can override panic, perform complex tasks, even when their body is screaming danger. Rigorous preparation was absolutely key for her.
Right. But even with all that prep, things can go wrong. As Tanya kept going down, something pretty scary happened, didn't it? Yeah, 114 seconds into the dive, she hits 360 feet. And right then, she ran into trouble. See, just before the dive, she'd accidentally taken an extra breath. Seems small, but it meant her lungs were too full, putting pressure on her heart. And that actually caused her to briefly lose consciousness down there. And she didn't even know she only had about 80% of the air she really needed to adjust properly at that depth. But somehow, after this heart-stopping 2-minute descent, she reaches her goal. An incredible 525 feet. So now she's at the bottom, needs to get back. 3 critical steps, right? Grab the lift bag, open the valve to inflate it, pull the pin to release it.
And this is where it gets really dicey. Just as she's about to do it, boom. Nitrogen narcosis kicks in. People often compare it to being drunk underwater. It's the nitrogen gas under pressure, messing with your brain function.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So for about 17 seconds, which must have felt like an eternity, she's fumbling with the sled. Her thoughts are just chaos struggling, but also flashing images of her family grieving if she didn't make it.
Just terrifying. But she did manage to pull the pin.
She did. Despite the narcosis, somehow she remembered that final step and started her ascent. Her ability to push through that impairment, execute those steps, that was everything.
Yeah, muscle memory, I guess.
Exactly. That's the remarkable part. It really shows the power of that ingrained training, that muscle memory and mental strength. When she was disoriented, her body just took over with those practiced actions. It's proof of how deep that programming goes.
And she made it. Tanya Streeter didn't just survive, she smashed the record, 525 feet.
Yeah.
That beat Audrey Mestre's previous record of 427 feet from the year before by 100 feet. A huge margin.
A massive margin. And you can imagine that put immense pressure back on Audrey Mestre's team.
Yeah, let's turn to Audrey now. Born August 11, 1974 in Paris. Loved the ocean from the start, apparently. Gold medal in swimming at age 2. Started scuba diving at 13.
Wow, 2. That's early.
Right. But her connection to the water, it became really personal. At 14, she got scoliosis, a complication from typhoid fever, had to wear this restrictive plastic corset for years.
Oh, that must have been incredibly difficult for a teenager.
Yeah. And she said the only time she felt truly free, truly weightless, was when she took it off to swim. So the water, the ocean, it became her escape, her playground. Eventually, her family moved to Mexico and she went to La Paz to study marine biology, deepening that connection.
And it's fascinating, isn't it, how sometimes personal challenges, discomfort, can push people towards these extreme places, physically or mentally.
Yeah.
For her, that corset seems to have really forged this incredibly deep bond with the water. It wasn't just a hobby. It was, like you said, her sanctuary, where she felt strong.
So while she's studying in La Paz, she's researching human physiology in deep-sea diving, and she gets fascinated by this guy, Francisco Pippin Ferreras. He was a legend in the diving world already. Known for huge dives, holding his breath forever, super competitive guy.
Pippin, yeah. He had his own challenging backstory too, right? Deformed feet, asthma, bad eyesight when he was young, found his refuge in the water even before he could walk, apparently.
Exactly. So Audrey interviews him for her research paper back in '96. They connect, find these parallels in their lives.
And sparks fly.
Totally. Love blossomed. They got married in 1999. Became this record-breaking power couple in diving, constantly pushing each other deeper.
Which brings us to a really controversial point. Pippin's move with the governing bodies. See, there's the IDA, the International Association of Freedivers. They set the safety rules, the standards. But Pippin felt they were too restrictive.
Too restrictive for him.
Apparently. So in 2000, he just established his own regulatory body, the IAFD.
Wait, he made his own organization to oversee his own dives?
Essentially, yes. And Audrey's dives, too. Which, raises a pretty big question. What happens when the athlete is basically setting their own safety rules?
That sounds like a massive conflict of interest, a huge red flag, surely. Independent oversight is fundamental in high-risk sports.
You'd think so. When you remove that external check, especially when records and reputations are on the line, the temptation to, bend the rules or cut corners, it's got to be there.
Definitely. And didn't Pippin have his own issue around that time?
He did. In 2000, he tried for 535 feet, but he blacked out during the ascent, which invalidated the record attempt.
So after that, he shifted focus.
Seems like it. He really started pushing Audrey. And she delivered. She hit 410 feet in 99, though, according to reports. She did black out briefly after surfacing, but under Pippin's IAFD rules, it still counted.
Okay.
Then a year later, she pushed it further, reaching 427 feet. That was the record Tanya Streeter eventually broke.
Right. Which brings us back to that pressure cooker moment after Tanya's 525-foot dive in 2002, shattering Audrey's record by 100 feet. The pressure on Audrey's team must have been immense. They felt they had to rush, speed up training, get that record back fast.
And looking beyond just this story, that's a classic pattern in record-breaking attempts, isn't it? That competitive drive, the external pressure, it can cloud judgment. Safety protocols can start to feel like obstacles rather than necessities.
And it really seems like things started to unravel quickly. Moving the dive date up had serious consequences. So October 9th, 2002, Audrey does a practice dive to 558 feet. Seems like she's ready, right? She could definitely hit the target of 561 feet for the record.
Right, paper.
But then the actual record attempt day, October 12th, things were off. Reports say Audrey wasn't in a good mood. She and Pippin were arguing constantly. There were even rumors she was planning to leave him after the dive.
That's a lot of personal tension to have right before such an extreme undertaking.
Exactly. And beyond that, the safety oversights just started piling up. Audrey was apparently isolating herself, didn't want anyone near the dive gear.
Okay, that's unusual.
Very. And worse, Pippin was reportedly really agitated and wouldn't let anyone check the air tank for the lift bag.
The ascent bag tank. But that's critical. That needs multiple checks.
Should be double, triple checked. Yeah. Then there was the issue with safety divers. Several deep-sea safety divers couldn't make it.
Oh, no.
Yeah, a huge gap in support. The key diver, who was meant to be stationed at 427 feet, had recently died in a totally separate cave diving accident, and crucially, he hadn't been replaced.
So no backup at that depth.
None. They had plenty of surface support, but only 2 deep divers, one at 262 feet, and Pascal Burnaby way down at the bottom, 564 feet.
Compared to Tanya Streeter's dive, didn't she have way more?
She had 16 divers. This setup meant the bottom diver, Burnaby, couldn't safely come up to help someone at 427 feet without risking the bends himself. Decompression sickness, potentially fatal.
So a massive hole in the safety net.
A fatal one, as it turned out. And remember, this whole dive was being run under Pippen's IAFD rules, bypassing the stricter IDA standard.
Wow, the sheer number of red flags there.
Yeah.
Is that sort of thing common, or was this just a perfect storm of bad decisions?
Well, risk is inherent, right? But this cascade of oversights, especially the self-regulation aspect with the IAFD, it points towards something more systemic, maybe, not just an off day.
Right. It really makes you ask, how does that drive for a wreckers mixed with maybe personal stuff, organizational pressure?
Yeah.
How does it blind people to such obvious dangers?
It's deeply unsettling. But despite all these flashing warning signs, Pippen gave the okay. Audrey started her descent, gripping that weighted sled, heading down towards 561 feet. Think about the height of the Washington Monument. Almost 2 football fields straight down.
Unfathomable.
The plan was simple. Reach depth in about 3 minutes, inflate the lift bag, come back up. On the surface, things might have looked okay initially, but reports say the crew felt uneasy. Something wasn't right.
And Burnaby, the diver at the bottom.
He noticed it too. Pascal Burnaby, down at 564 feet, saw the cable the sled runs on wasn't behaving normally. It was moving too much. Audrey reached the bottom plate 561 feet at 2 minutes and 22 seconds. Faster than planned.
Okay, so she's there. Now the crucial part, the ascent. Grab bag, open valve, pull pin.
Right. But here's where it goes horribly wrong. She goes through the motions, grabs the bag, opens the valve, nothing.
Nothing.
The lift bag tank was empty, no air.
Empty. But how? That's the one thing that has to work.
Exactly. Burnaby, seeing this, swims over immediately. He uses his own emergency air supply to try and inflate her lift bag like an underwater balloon. But it wasn't enough air, it didn't inflate properly, didn't rise fast enough, and he couldn't go up with her because of the depth limits, the risk of the bends.
And this is where that missing safety diver becomes critical, isn't it?
Absolutely. That lack of a diver at 427 feet, that was the fatal gap. There was nobody there in that middle zone who could have provided immediate help when the ascent failed. She was effectively stranded.
Oh, yeah.
So the agonizing wait starts. Her ascent is way too slow. Everyone knows she won't make it back safely at this rate. Minutes are ticking by. The diver at 262 feet still hasn't seen her pass him. On the surface, Pippen is apparently screaming for scuba gear. More precious time lost.
Just chaos.
Total chaos. It's 4 minutes in now. Burnaby finds Audrey again. She's drifted off the line, blacked out, at around 394 feet. He makes a split-second decision, grabs her, and starts ascending rapidly. A hugely risky move for his own life. He gets her up to 295 feet, around the 4-minute 40 mark.
Meanwhile, the lift bag surfaces.
Alone. Empty. Everyone on the boat knows instantly something is terribly, terribly wrong.
And Pippen.
He finally gets gear, plunges down reportedly on just air initially. An incredibly dangerous act meets Burnaby at 295 feet. Together, they bring Audrey up, ascending way too fast.
Yep.
Pippen basically accepting this could kill him too.
Just absolute desperation.
When they break the surface, Pippen starts CPR immediately, right there in the water. They get her onto the boat. She apparently still has a pulse. They call for a doctor, but the person who arrives is a dentist, not equipped for this kind of deep-sea emergency. There's little he can do.
Dentist. Oh, no.
Yeah, they rushed her to shore, but it was too late. Audrey was pronounced dead. She was 28 years old. The dive, planned for under 3 minutes, had lasted over 8.5 minutes.
It's just tragic. And the aftermath. What's really striking is the lack of an official investigation in the Dominican Republic where it happened. Apparently, the family has to formally request one, and neither Pippen nor Audrey's family ever did.
So officially, many questions just hang there.
Officially, yes. Which, of course, fueled speculation. The internet exploded with accusations against Pippen. Some even suggested murder.
But people who knew them pushed back on that.
Strongly. They insisted he adored her, would never intentionally harm her. Though, interestingly, that diver at 262 feet, he apparently had a different theory.
What was that?
He speculated Pippen might have been trying to stage some kind of hero moment, like fake an accident he could then dramatically save her from.
Wow, that's quite a theory.
It is. But then, when people analyzed the sensor data from the dive, a clearer picture of technical failures emerged. Multiple critical errors.
Like what?
Well, that lighter cable they chose. Bad idea. It was meant to reduce friction, but it moved too much in the current. It actually caused Audrey's sled to stop ascending for 30 seconds at 538 feet. Just stuck there.
30 seconds. Yeah. Underwater. Oh, my God.
Yeah. Plus, a damaged part, a bushing, and these wings they'd added to the sled to stop it spinning. They actually ended up increasing friction during the ascent.
So multiple equipment failures contributing.
Definitely. But the biggest issue, the fatal one, remains simple. There was no air, or not nearly enough, in the lift bag tank.
So the conclusion points more towards negligence.
The evidence strongly suggests probable negligence, yeah. From Pippin, maybe other crew members too, rather than intentional malice. But still, no one was ever officially accused or charged.
Incredible, and yet she was recognized posthumously.
Yes, the IAFD awarded her a record posthumously for that 558-foot practice dive she did just days before the fatal attempt. That dive actually broke Pippin's own previous record.
Right.
She was also inducted into the Women Divers Hall of Fame in 2002. And Pippin, his last record dive in 2003 was to 561 feet. He specifically stopped there to match Audrey's deepest point in her memory.
So wrapping this up, what does Audrey Mestre's story really tell us?
It's just such a stark, tragic reminder, isn't it? Yeah. About the risks you take when you push human limits that far, about how absolutely critical safety protocols are.
Yeah.
And how a whole series of small failures, oversights, maybe clouded judgment, how they can cascade into just unimaginable tragedy.
And it definitely sent shockwaves through the freediving community.
Oh, absolutely. Her death forced a huge debate, really hammered home that no record, no number is worth a human life. It also makes you think about those intense psychological pressures in extreme sports, those blurred lines between ambition, love, responsibility.
Yeah. And the need for that independent oversight you mentioned earlier.
Crucial. Absolutely crucial.
It's interesting, too. Tanya Streeter's record, that 525 feet, it stood unbroken by any woman for over a decade after Audrey's death. Makes you wonder, doesn't it? If Audrey had lived, would she have kept pushing? Or did this tragedy just fundamentally change the whole landscape of no-limits diving?
It's impossible to know. A profound loss either way.
It really is. And it leaves us, maybe you listening, with something to think about. What limits are you pushing maybe in your own life or work? And are there any unexamined risks lurking just beneath the surface?